The expectations for managing student behavior on the TAP rubric are those of the following.
Students are mostly well-behaved and on task. Some minor learning disruptions may occur.
Teacher establishes rules for learning and behavior.
The teacher uses some techniques such as social approval, contingent activities, and consequences to maintain appropriate student behavior.
The teacher overlooks some inconsequential behavior, but other times addresses it, stopping the lesson.
And the teacher deals with students who have caused disruptions, yet sometimes he or she addresses the entire class.
Now we will go further into these points.
The first expectation is that students are mostly well-behaved and on task, but some minor learning disruptions may occur. When teaching a lesson, you want most of your students listening and engaged. Do not worry if there are one or two students who aren't following along or distracted with other things. This is normal. As long as you have the majority of the class's attention, then you have met the expectations standard.
The second expectation is that the teacher establishes rules for learning and behavior. Creating classroom norms for your students is one way to establish expectations for learning and behavior towards peers and materials used in school. Teachers can also collaborate with students to decide on what they want their classroom norms to include. Kids get the opportunity to have a say in how they are expected to learn and behave. These norms should be hung up or placed in the classroom to be seen every day by the students. This provides a daily reminder on how the students should act in the classroom.
The third expectation is the teacher uses some techniques such as social approval, contingent activities, and consequences to maintain appropriate student behavior. An example of a contingent activity would be having a prize box to reward students for good behavior throughout the week. Some teachers hand out class dollars that the students receive as a result of good choices. The students are then able to cash in the dollars for something in the prize box if they have the amount available. A consequence that should be enforced for bad behavior is anything that makes the student rethink their behavior. If the student understands they made a mistake and corrects the mistake, then you have maintained appropriate student behavior.
Three, two, one.
What did you do today?
Nothing, just homework. It was quite boring.
To infinity.
And beyond! How's work?
It was good. Kids were good today.
That's good.
Class, class, class.
Yes, yes, yes.
Liz, I really like the way you're being quiet. You have a bubble in your mouth and you're sitting correctly.
The fourth expectation is that teacher overlooks some inconsequential behavior, but other times addresses it, stopping the lesson. When the behavior creates a minimal distraction, it's sometimes best to leave it alone so you do not disrupt the entire lesson and get the entire class off track. However, if the behavior is affecting other students and could possibly worsen with time, then it would be appropriate for the teacher to pause the lesson to correct the behavior.
Liz, we don't do that. We keep our hands to ourselves. We don't touch our friends.
The final expectation is the teacher deals with students who have caused disruptions, yet sometimes he or she addresses the entire class. When the class is behaving very well, the teacher could address the class by saying, "Thank you for sitting on the carpet nice and quietly." Sometimes, if there is a student who is not paying attention, the teacher could address the class or talking to the student one-on-one by saying that they need to practice good carpet behavior by sitting nice and quietly.
Class, can you remind me how we sit nicely and we keep our hands to ourselves and we listen correctly? Rachel, so I noticed that you're being really fidgety during the lesson. That's not what we're supposed to be doing when we're listening to the teacher. you're supposed to sit correctly and be quiet. So next time if you could do that, because you just kind of create a disruption for the other students.